Thanks for staying. We have business now, and let's look at our business headline stories. Ratings agency Fitch has, in a statement on the 2016 budget, warned that plans by government to reduce the rising expenditure might be difficult to achieve. Fitch is concerned about government's focus on revenue than expenditure measures. Fitch Ratings says greater reliance on revenue than expenditure measures may make consolidation more challenging next year if growth disappoints or oil production at the 10 field is displayed or delayed and elections may spending control harder. The budget announced on Friday aims to narrow the deficit to 5.3% of GDP on cash basis in 2016 in line with the IMF program. The government expects revenue to rise by 1.4% of GDP from 22.6% in 2015. Fitch says it thinks the deficit will narrow more slowly to 6.2% in 2016 due to our lower revenue assumptions and the challenges of consolidating expenditure ahead of elections. It added that financing the deficit is likely to be challenging and expensive. The rating agency forecasts the 2015 deficit to narrow to 7.8% of GDP from 10.2% last year, slightly higher than the authorities' figure of 7.3%. We're staying on the budget, and economist Dr. Eric Osei-Sibe has called on government to pass into law the public management bill currently before cabinet by the end of this year. This, he explained, will largely contribute to checking government spending beyond budget limits in election years.
Finance Minister Seth Thepwe, delivering the 2016 budget statement to Parliament, assured Ghanaians that government would not overspend next year. According to him, government will stay put to planned expenditure for the election year and will not allow itself to be defocused by voters. Senior lecturer at the Department of Economics at the University of Ghana, Dr. Eric Esibe, says government's plan of not overspending can be achieved.
Unlike the previous years where government is often on its own, the IMF comes in after the budget, after we have messed ourselves up, and that's after the elections and things are not well, then the IMF comes in. This time around, we have the IMF going with us into that election year, and so there's a big person somewhere with a big whip, right? And therefore, government doesn't have that kind of freedom or discretion in terms of its expenditure.
But indicated there are a number of risks which government must anticipate and work towards, citing lack of inflows pledged by donors.
If the macroeconomic conditions do not improve and inflation goes up and there's a utility bill or cost of utility actually being adjusted upward, then I will not be too surprised for labor to come back to demand for higher wages in order to make up for whatever fall in their real wage that will ensue.
Tesibe called for the passing of the public management bill, which would ensure fiscal restraint and check government from overspending.
I expect that government will quickly send this bill to Parliament and Parliament to pass it before going into an election year, because that will help close some of the loopholes in the public financial management system.
We look at farming, and over 107 rice farmers around the Butanga irrigation scheme in the northern region say they have increased yield from 0.7 tons per acre to 3.7 tons in 1 year. An International Fertilizer Development Center collaboration introduced new agronomy practices to the farmers.
Farmers have often struggled to break even owing to climate change. increased pests and diseases, and lack of sound farming practices. Per an acre of rice farm, some farmers could take home 6 bags, while others take home less than 6 bags. The International Fertilizer Development Center stepped in with Feed the Future Ghana Agricultural Technology Transfer Project in the northern region to assist the farmers maximize yields. The center, with support from the United States Agency for International Development, introduced new farming technologies and sound agronomic practices to rural farmers.
They will always adopt technology that will improve their profitability and income.
Farmers were taken through planting, transplanting and fertilizer application methods. Power tillers have also been supplied to the farmers at a 70% subsidized price. The farmers say the adaptation marked a turning point in their lives.
Once you are a rice farmer, you can't pass here without turning to watch. Why? Because I've used the rice seeds and then the right technology, and I'm having very good rice stand here. Farmers, they know what I'll be expecting here.
The practices, coupled with the use of quality seed per an acre of rice farm, farmers are expecting over 20 bags. Last year, the center introduced the new technologies and farming practices to 300 farmers around the Bolgatanga scheme area. By the end of the third quarter this year, 107 have fully adopted the technology. Former President and Chief Executive Officer of IFGC, Amit Roy, wants farmers to take the program seriously in order to tackle food security.
I see what is the best way to unlock the potential of these continents and the people. That's what we work towards. People say, there are challenges. Every place you have challenges. I think the food security issue is top on the agenda of the governments. Nutrition security, food security, stability, all these are on the top of the agenda of the governments.
The president of the Federation of Associations of Ghanaian Exporters has emphasized the need for the alignment of the production and marketing of Ghana's fresh produce with international best practices. This, according to him, will increase market access opportunities for Ghanaian producers and exporters, as it has become an entry visa for the global marketplace.
Fresh produce exporters all over the world in recent years are under pressure to use production techniques that reduce the impact of farming on the environment, limit their use of chemicals, and make efficient use of natural resources. Through the Global GAP certification, an internationally recognized set of farm standards dedicated to good agricultural practices, these demands are met.
In the EU already they are insisting on it. You can't take anything there without a stamp on it. That is why you're getting problem like the Sudan 4 dye problem, because it was tested and found out. We don't have anything like that happening on our local market. So you and I are not protected. That's why we're asking that we should start using certification locally.
Technical advisor of export trade development at the Ministry of Trade and Industry says there have been issues of Ghana's vegetable to the EU market, but promised they are currently working on it.
Even though the European Union has sent these alerts and expressed a lot of concern, as a country we have already exports of vegetables whilst we put our house in order. We are, from 2016, going to implement a mandatory compliance with a national traceability system.
Nico Brorison, Managing Director of AgriPlace, said his outfit is here to help Ghanaian exporters to comply with the global GAP requirement.
New standards coming in Ghana, like the green label. You have farmers that are certified for cocoa, for fair trade, for Oats coffee, nuts, etc. Oats for cocoa, of course. And there's a lot of double work doing, and we can help farmers to collect the data only once.